Ooh, ooh, yeah. Let the beat talk. Hey, what's up, Dean Del Rey? Another episode here that I recorded while the podcast was down. This particular episode is probably one of my favorites. I got a guy on here, Mr. Don Barris. Don Barris is one of the most interesting guys I've met. He's from Detroit, Michigan, suburbs out there. Comedy Store. I mean, this guy lives, breathes, is the Comedy Store. Every night, 7 nights a week, he closes out in the original room every night around 1:30. He also does audience warm-up for Jimmy Kimmel. The main thing that Don and I have in common, though, is we both are music freaks. Don likes incredible music, which is cool. When you bond with someone with music, it's lifelong, man. Don loves the Eagles. He likes a lot of classic rock. We argue a lot about who's the best front man in the world when we're at the Comedy Store. Anyway, I think you're going to enjoy this episode. I really had a great time. I love this guy. Check it out, Mr. Don Barris. All right, here we are right now. Dean Del Rey in the house with my guest, Don Barris today. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Dean, how are you, man? I'll tell you, I've been anticipating this with great anticipation, I guess. I really like talking rock music, and you have more knowledge than anyone I know in this town, so this will be fun today.
That's great, man. I think one of the first few times I was talking to you, you asked me who the greatest singer of all time was. You remember that?
No, really, tell me.
And you said, who is it? We were there at the store in the hall.
Comedy Store.
Yeah,
in
right there where
Hollywood,
the box office was. And I said, Bon Scott. And you were like, what? Over Freddie Mercury? And I was like, yeah, over everyone. Yeah,
Really?
You remember that?
Do you really think he's that good?
Well, the thing I like about Bon was when I was young, there was no guy like him. He had tattoos. No one had tattoos.
Really?
You think about it, no rock stars had tattoos. You know what I mean? Back then, he had like no shirt on, like a Levi. He looked like a homeless man.
Yeah, he kind of did.
And then he would come out and fucking sing exact to the record. You know, just balls out, you know?
Yeah.
And I liked him because I remember one thing that Rollins said. He said he likes
Henry Rollins?
Yeah, and his frontman, he thinks the most successful frontman, when you look at him, there's no fucking anything else they could have ever done. And you look at Bon.
In life, are you talking
In
about?
life, yeah. You go, no.
You know, it's interesting. I was listening to Stern actually on the way over here, and they're doing the best of, and this is the week, I don't know when this will air, but the week that Stern had on ZZ Top, Roger Daltrey, and Rod Stewart.
Amazing.
And I think he was talking to ZZ Top, and he says, do you think, and it made me think of myself, because I feel that this is where I was. He said, it's best if you make it rock music if you don't have anything else going. Like, this is it. You have no other alternatives. Like, you weren't, well, I decided to give up being a doctor to do rock and roll. And that a lot of people, it is their only break. And I look at myself in comedy. The exact same thing. I got to the point where I had a family where I could have gone like a business route.
Right.
But I just hated that. I just hated that lifestyle.
Now, hold on. Now, in case the listeners don't know, this is Don Barris, like Comedy Store legend to me. But I think the main thing I learned was last night. Was the first time I sat back and was, you know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, last night, because I've been going there like 3.5 years.
Right.
And we see each other all the time, but I'm like just busy working and stuff. And then last night I felt like that Bumblebee in the Blind Melon video where I opened the fence and went, here's the other bees. I felt like that last night.
Really?
It was weird, yeah, because I was like, oh, man, I get it, you know?
You know, I'll tell you something very interesting. It's I look at stand-up comedy as kind of a dead art in a way. The reason I say that is because nothing is fresh. I came out to Los Angeles in the mid-'80s. So I saw as Sam Kinison hit it big. I saw like Dice Clay. And the reason I mentioned those two guys is because it was kind of an era where, you know, there used to be the vaudevillian comics. Then it went to the Catskill type of things. Then it became in the 70s Pryor hit. But I think that the Kinison, Dice, Bobcat Goldthwait, just really kind of different energy that had never been done in comedy before it came out. And nothing has really stepped in there that's different. So I loved Andy Kaufman.
Love him.
I love Andy Kaufman. So my goal when I go on stage isn't like as a comic. I try to go so far out there. I try to become the most likable person in there. And if you're likable, you can sell shit to anybody.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is to get my proudest moment ever with this way of thinking. Like I say, I will try to get the audience on my side so they'll buy anything I talk about. And I go as outrageous as I possibly can. There was a minister that was in the audience, and he was with three people that definitely used church as a hangout for them. You could just tell by everything. And I talked about God, I talked about religion, I talked about my beliefs on stage. And there was only like 12 people. But then I started bringing my humor to them, because what I did is I sold myself. All right, here's what I am. And I even said, I always go on late because I close out at the Comedy Store every single night. So I've gone through everybody. By the time I get out, people are trying to decide if they're staying or leaving. And I just try and punch them right in the face.
That's right. I see it all the time.
And so, but for this minister, what I did, I have a routine where I try to go so outrageous, and it's where I talk about stabbing a woman in the side.
I saw it last night.
And fucking the wound.
Yeah.
And I explained why. The blood's a great
good
lubricant.
Lube, yeah.
Can't get them pregnant, fucking them. So it's just, but it's so, but this minister was pounding on the chair. He was laughing so hard.
Right.
And I thought, wow, because you know what? If I would have opened with that bit, it wouldn't have gotten the same response. But I sold myself.
Yeah.
And so that's how I look at what I call my stand-up comedy. And what you did last night, you saw for the first time, and I'm surprised you hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
Because I love music so much, like you, but I am not a musician.
Right.
I've collected music all my life. I know so much about that. But I will say this. So during that, so I started, I guess you could call it's a band.
Yep. BKO, it's called.
The Barris Kennedy Overdrive.
Now, how did you get that name?
Well, it used to be the Barris Brody Overdrive.
Oh.
Because I was with Brody at first.
Got you.
Brody Stephens.
Yep. Got it.
And he became a pain in the ass. So I moved on. I brought in Earl, who is related to the Kennedy family.
That's right.
So it's a snazzier name, the Barris Kennedy Overdrive. And obviously, because I thought, as a kid, I always wanted the Bachman-Turner Overdrive.
Yeah, BTO, you like that.
Why Overdrive? What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, and so I was kind of like that. That's where, I know there was a Randy Bachman and there was whatever his name is.
I think the
Turner.
Overdrive was just mean fucking straight ahead, full speed.
But it was just, I always thought it was such a ridiculous name. So then what I did, boom, Barris Kennedy Overdrive.
I think what happened when I first started coming to the store was I was coming off being a musician.
Right.
So then I hear about it and I'm like this snob, like, fuck that. What are those guys doing? You know what I mean?
Right.
And
so you had seen the BKO before.
I did a drive-by because remember, like, back then I would go on at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And then you guys would go on. You know, back then it would be really late.
Yeah.
You know? And like Dan Madonia was in the band, I believe.
Yep. He was he was a musician too.
Right.
And he took the guitar playing to another level. I mean, he'd jump over tables. He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. So go on.
And also I didn't really understand what what I was doing. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I must be a comic. You have to do jokes, a set. Here it is. You know what I mean?
Oh, trust me. I've gotten that my entire career.
Right.
What the fuck is he doing? I don't know if you were done with your thought, but I'll just, a quick thing right there. When I first started doing it, I did this thing called balloon art. And it was good enough that, like, I was on Jimmy Kimmel Live doing it. Right. I supposedly retired it on there. I've done it a couple times since for charities and things like that.
Yeah.
But it was a thing. It was the most ridiculous thing. But what it was, I used the Kenny Loggins hit Danger Zone that was from Top Gun.
Love it.
Everybody knows the song. And I put a little dance to it, and I did this thing, balloon art, and I'd make this big thing about how I'm an artist, and then, I won the prestigious Balloon d'Or award, and it's just ridiculous stuff. And then I would go with the music, and I would blow up a balloon, a fluorescent light bulb, just the dumbest, easiest stuff.
Yeah.
But the crowds went crazy.
Right.
But at the time that I came there in the 80s, everybody was, oh, this guy sucks. They'd go to Mitzi. That's the reason now I go up every day, but I always go up last. And the reason being is I just don't want anybody fucking complaining about me.
Right.
Because there's such little bitches.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks what they're doing is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people that would always complain about what I was doing, I don't see them in the business anymore. So fuck them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think last night, like, I fully got it. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to, like I always loved Kaufman.
Yeah.
But there was dudes, as soon as they, and I won't even mention names, but as soon as they do their act, it's just, come on, man, Kaufman. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't look at you as Kaufman at all.
No.
But I look at you as, like, this guy that is like, this is badass, man. This guy, to me last night, I was thinking, this guy is living a great life. Maybe you don't.
How wrong you are, but go on.
No, but I'm saying, now I understand what you're going to say. The same thing as like me is like, oh, well, you're not famous, or maybe you don't have money or whatever. I understand all that. But I also understand that you're not swinging a hammer out in the 107 degrees and fucking.
Part of me is as lucky as can be. I got a chance. Jimmy Kimmel did a movie with me, and if you want, we'll talk
Windy
about
City Heat.
Right. And I'll tell you real quick. When you mentioned Andy Kaufman, I knew. A lot of people either said this project that I had was retarded, or it was just bullshit. They didn't get it. Kimmel came in there, and what he said to me, and I knew he got it, and that's the reason I kind of went with him. He said, this project is the opposite of Andy Kaufman. Now, real quick, just in a nutshell, Windy City Heat is a movie where, at the time, it was like we had been around this guy for Mary Jane, who came with me, her phone went off. Thanks, Mary Jane.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hello.
I was joking about thanking you. Anyway, where was?
So yeah,
this is a movie where basically, and this is before any reality shows we started doing this.
What year are we talking?
1992. We started this thing at the Comedy Store in Westwood. It was there for like the summer, and then Mitzi closed it when school started. Business wasn't doing good.
That place was only there for a summer?
Well, there was 2 times the Westwood Comedy Store was. The one time that it became kind of crazy, because that's where Kinnison kind of developed himself. Because
was he managing or something there?
No, but Paulie was there, and it was just, and they kind of ran the club. And so when I started having the guts to talk to Mitzi, I always said, oh, there should always be a Westwood Comedy Store. And I think I put a bug in her head. And she eventually, it came across her dentist owned a club there and had a basement. She said, let us come in the basement. And
so the second phase. I never even knew. And that was a different building.
Different building. Everything was different. And I'll tell you.
That's like La Jolla.
No, La Jolla's
No, I'm saying 2 different places.
Right.
Now.
2 different, and they used to have one in Vegas. They had one in Hawaii for a while.
So wild.
They keep talking about going back to Vegas. They really should, because I'll tell you something. Those places make money. Hopefully that it starts getting straightened out, and hopefully Paulie starts understanding. Is everything going okay?
Oh, yeah, we're good.
Okay. But anyway, so Windy City Heat is where we put a make-believe world around a guy that he buys it.
That's
And
right.
He's bought it since 1992. We still have a podcast out there, thebig3podcast.com.
Yeah, Big Three. You can talk
And
about
on
it because
ti-
it's
and on
went to
iTunes.
Sundance, all kinds of shit.
So anyway, so it's kind of a crazy thing, and nobody got it. But the Kimmel came up, and he said, you know what? I look at this. This is the opposite of Andy Kaufman, where Andy Kaufman was trying to play a joke on everybody.
Right.
In this project, everybody sees what's happening because it's so obvious. This guy doesn't. So it's like the world is in on a joke on this one guy.
Right.
Scary Perry. And by the way, you were mentioning Bon Scott earlier.
Yep.
Before we started the show, talking about you thought he's the best lead singer ever. That's Perry's favorite lead singer, Bon Scott.
Oh, I like the guy already.
Yeah, and I.
Which, by the way, Don's wearing a Van Halen shirt.
Hell yeah.
Which is awesome, and it looks like Van Halen 2 era.
Yep, absolutely.
The gold logo.
So
you do Windy City Heat. Now,
well, but I was just saying this about Windy City Heat, and Jimmy met me when he was still working at the radio station on K-Rock here in town. So that's when we started becoming friends because he loved this project. Anyway, we went through years of it, but he just started growing. He got the Man Show. He got then Jimmy Kimmel, and I've been lucky because he's kept me working because I kind of understood how to do audience warm up.
Right.
So I've been working for him since days of Ben Stein, Win Ben Stein's Money. I went with the Man Show with him, and over 10 years now on Jimmy Kimmel Live. So that gives me money, but it doesn't completely scratch my ego. So I'm not completely broke. But
I get that. But what I'm saying is, you see a guy last night. I see it, the BKO, and I'm like, oh fuck, I get this, man. This is some guys that are. I thought that last night that it was like, these are the guys I should be hanging out with because they're lunatics and misfits and stuff. And those are the guys I've kind of hung out with all my life.
Right.
They tend to gravitate towards great music, great films, good comedy, whatever. You know what I mean? And it's tough when you're someone like me who comes in. I'm not like saying I'm some fucking killer, but I've been all over the place and stuff. And then you're talking to a kid and he's talking about like some hip hop right now or something. I'm just like, hey, dude, we got nothing in common, you know? It's tough. So then you see like guys like you, and then I go like, this guy gets it. He likes great music. Usually when someone likes great music, they like other good stuff too, you know?
I think that it's a common bond because I think music that see in the 80s I worked as a DJ.
Yeah,
so
at the Tropicana.
No. I was that Tropicana is a female mud wrestling place. I wasn't the DJ there. I was the auctioneer.
Right, yeah.
So I'd get out and auction girls.
Which I wrestled there, and I showed you a picture.
I saw the picture recently. yeah. Very funny.
The only reason I did it was the guy said, look, man, I'm going to pay for you. I used to hang out with this Coke dealer. He goes, I'm going to pay for you to go in there. And then the object was, I'm going to throw mud on the people in the crowd, but act like I don't know I'm doing it. So as the girl would grab me, I would have a handful and go, whoa!
Yeah.
And it would land on people. That was our whole plan. Yeah. And people finally caught on like, hey, what the fuck, man? And they were all mudded up, and they threw me out of there.
Just so you know, it's the Hollywood Tropicana was a place. It's a female mud wrestling place. I called it the Palace of Mud Wrestling, and it was over on Western, a real shitty part of L.A. And
building's still there.
Building's still there, and nothing has been in there since some Peruvian Coke dealers had it.
Right,
guy who bought it. You know how he got the money to buy that club?
How?
Crazy story. He was drunk. He was in Las Vegas, and he was heckling Elvis. Elvis's bodyguards beat the fuck out of him.
Whoa, and he sued him?
And he sued him, and he won.
That's a fucking great story, man.
Yeah.
And so he opened the Tropicana.
He opened the Tropicana.
And this place was red hot in the 80s during the rock, like Vince Neil from Motley Crue. Mary's one of the chicks, Charisse. And
whose sister was even cuter than her.
Yeah, and that's why I started hanging out there, because the Coke dealer would be like, we got to stop by here, make a drop-off. And I would do these Hollywood runs with him, like Comedy Store. You know what I mean?
Right.
We'd go places, and he would sell some blow, and then we'd hang out wherever, and we'd be like kings because, get him whatever he wants,
Right. You know what's funny about that? Because they were Peruvian, the people who owned it, and I'm telling you this. One time I walked, they used to have this area. They eventually started parking cars in there, but at one point it was just nothing in this big warehouse-sized room. And I walked in there one night, and doors were always locked, and I walked in there. One time I saw the biggest hill of cocaine I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was like this.
Yeah.
It was like a little fucking model of a mountain that you're trying to...
Well, he wasn't selling to them. It'd be like customers back in the pager days.
Right.
You go, Tropicana, we got to head over there. And it'd be like dudes at the Tropicana that worked there, like, somebody worked there.
But it was a crazy place because, like you say, there's a lot of musicians came there in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's when I got there. That's when I was kind of doing it. It was packed.
Now you're out of Detroit?
I'm...
Where are you from?
A place called Saginaw, Michigan.
Okay.
But, about 90 miles north of Detroit.
It's all the same. Just
Absolutely.
call it Detroit, right?
Right, exactly. That's what most people do.
Yeah.
And so I came out here to do stand-up, and it's kind of funny. I have told this story before, but there was a guy who worked there. He was a great musician. He was a piano player. And when I got to the Comedy Store literally got to the point, the peak that I saw it, they were having 3 shows that filled up in the main room every Friday and Saturday.
Right.
2 in the original. So they would have turnovers of crowds. And there were so many people outside. It was like a zoo every single
That was
night.
that 80s hotbed
Late
of
80s,
comedy.
90s, right.
Yeah.
It was when...
Same thing in San Fran where I was at. You had Bobcat. You had Bobby Slayton. You had, Carrie Snow.
Yeah.
You had the San Fran comedy competition, which was so prestigious. If you won that, you became like instantly overnight a star.
Right. San Francisco had a great comedy. When you say Bobcat, by the way, you like Bobcat? He was directed Windy City Heat.
Yeah, now Bobcat is one of the reasons I'm into comedy.
Really?
100%. And I was talking about this on Maron a little bit, but Bobcat, when he hit San Fran, there was kind of this kind of little small thing of like, oh, he's a homeless man and he's like funny. He goes and does shows. That was like the rumor on the street. And you'd go and he'd just be like sketchy. Like, And I remember seeing him and I was like, this guy is the bomb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I watched him shoot a special at Wolfgang's. And I'd go see him all the time until he hit Police Academy,
Right.
But he was one of the things. Of course, early on, I was into Cheech and Chong, Pryor, and Bill Cosby, and Carlin. My neighbor had those records, and we listened to them because it had swearing on it. And we were into it. Like he said, "Fuck,"
I think for me, the people that I Cheech and Chong. Because this is a national level. Carlin, obviously, Richard Pryor, and Steve Martin. I love Steve Martin. I love Steve Martin. Did you ever see him do stand-up?
I never liked Steve Martin when I was growing up, and now I like him. But when I was younger, I was like, this guy sucks.
Did you see his banjo?
Yeah.
He plays that.
I've seen that.
He had a huge hit.
Oh,
his album is like, didn't it go number 1?
That's like his life now, banjo.
Well, and good for him. He's enjoying that.
Yeah, I love him now. I watch all that stuff now, and I'm like, this stuff was great.
His book was spectacular.
Oh, I got it. Me Standing Up or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of the title.
That whole stuff about San Fran where he's just starting out there, he's got the banjo. He even had those ears back then.
The bunny ears.
Yeah, the bunny ears.
Through the head.
Yeah. And then the lady's like, you're terrible, but we need someone. And like, he'd just go on every night, all night.
You know, it's funny. A guy who was cut out of Windy City Heat, and it's unfortunate because I love this guy. Super Dave.
Oh, I love Super Dave. Man, when that came on, I was like, oh.
I was going to add this. Super Dave, first of all, he's, what the fuck is his name?
Yeah, what is his name?
Call him, his real name is Bob Einstein.
He was on like, last year?
His brother, Super Dave's brother. He's a filmmaker. Why can't I think of him? I think his last name starts... Brooks is Albert Brooks.
Albert Brooks.
Albert Brooks, the filmmaker.
Oh yeah, Albert Brooks. Yeah,
That's his brother.
wow. I never even knew that.
Didn't know that, and this leads to this.
Wow.
His writing. He was a writer on the Smothers Brother. His writing partner was Steve Martin.
Wow. The Smothers Brothers' son played in my band, Dick Smothers.
Oh, really?
Played bass in my band.
Really?
He had a band in the Bay Area called Kamikaze. I think the dad gave him a shitload of money, and then he burned through it. He moved to Vegas, was a cab driver, and now he does porn. Electric Dick Smothers. And he had an ED tattooed on his arm, and my guitar player and him would fight all the time, and my guitar player would call him Ed because ED, Electric
right.
Dick, and he'd be like, oh, it's Dick, and he's like, whatever, Ed, and they would just fucking fight. But yeah, man, it's it's weird. Like, you just think about how like the kids come out, and then you're like, oh yeah, him. Smothers Brothers.
You look at the Smothers Brothers. I bet you people don't even know their show was like the biggest show. It was too political, and that's the reason it was canceled. But I mean, if you think about this, Tommy Smothers was in the room playing guitar on "Give Peace a Chance" with John Lennon.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they had a huge show. They were huge. Yeah, that's weird, man. So, Super Dave, man, I mean, like all that 80s comedy was so great, right?
He might have even been like 70s comedy. Maybe early 80s.
Showtime or something, right? His show was on, or was it HBO?
It was.
Whatever.
And I guess because he was there before, but I think Letterman really made him big.
Right, when he'd bring him on.
Right, because he was always great. And the great thing about Super Dave is you know where he's going.
Yeah. He's going to get his balls smashed.
Right, but it's always... I'll tell you this, and the crazy thing, he was on Kimmel. At one point, he was going to be the announcer on Kimmel. And at first, he did one of the funniest things. He was the announcer, and so one time, he came up with the idea. He saw a car chase, and they were chasing a guy down, and they got him out. And so what he did is he said that he did the announcing from the back of a car during the car chase, and he gave a reason. Jimmy, sorry. All right, the police are asking me to put my hands out of the car. You see the hands come out. All right, they want me to get out. All right, Jimmy, they're going to have me put down the phone right now. And then this guy said something on the ground. Oh. It was so funny.
He's so good.
In Windy City Heat, they cut this scene out. It was so good. And I remember telling him, because I really look up to Super Dave. And I asked him, please, just go to the script. Just do this because I can't laugh. And you, to me, are the funniest human ever.
Right.
So in the movie, I'm in the a limo with this Perry guy, and we get pulled over by the cops. Well, it's Super Dave. And so we had it all planned. When he hit the back, I knew. And what I had... as the cops are coming out, I go, Perry, put this in your fanny pack, and it's a gun, a huge bag of pot. He goes, I'm not putting that in there. And you got to remember, he's believing everything's going on.
Right.
So Super Dave, they tell him to roll down the window. He rolls down the window and says, "What are you guys doing in here? Making one of those rock music videos?" And now you can just see a smirk coming to me, and it's just such a prick because it was such a good. Because then he says, "What's that smell in there? What do you got?" And I said, "Well, it's either Perry's gun or his bag of pot." Oh. You fucking asshole! So that was the whole thing, and they cut it out because eventually he pulls out a paddle, and that bit didn't work at all.
Did the movie come out in the theaters?
No. What it did, it was on Comedy Central. They buried it, and then
because it's like a cult classic.
They sent it to film festivals.
Right.
And it won top honors at a film festival.
Which one?
Montreal Comedy Fest.
Montreal, dope.
Yeah, so it was like, it won top honors there. Yeah.
Every time, like the first time I heard about Windy Heat, I was going, Windy City Heat. I was 1 year into comedy. I was going up to, I don't know, somewhere up to 14 to do comedy at some show Jay Davis had booked me at. So we're on that way up there, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I just love Don Barris, man." I was like,
"Really?" He said that?
Yeah.
I always thought the guy hated me.
Oh, no. No way. So we're with Jimmy Schubert's in the car. I don't know Jimmy at the time. I'm just going up to do 8 minutes and eat some free food. And I'm new, and I'm going out to some shitland place to do it. They start talking Windy City Heat the entire ride there. They're like, oh, how great is that movie, man? It was
Schubert did that?
Oh,
Really?
yeah, Jimmy Schubert, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I love that thing. It's so incredible, man. And then they're telling me the whole premise behind it and everything. And then for the next 3 years, I would be places, and there was guys like, oh, man, Windy City Heat's so great.
Oh.
Like all kinds of guys that are big in the biz, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's like...
Is it on Netflix?
You can buy it. You can't get the instant cube or anything like that. And the kind of the funny thing, we had a sequel set up a few years ago. Johnny Knoxville, Spike Jonze was
Love Spike Jonze, amazing.
Right. Well, he was going to direct us one scene in it, but their company got the money. They raised the money. They had distribution and everything. But at the time, this Perry guy had this. He still does have this guy. He's one of these ambulance-chasing lawyers that saw money. And for 2.5 years, they're trying to get the movie done. They finally just gave up because this Perry guy, they know all this guy wants is money because he sued him. He sued everybody.
Right.
He's already done it. And they paid him, eventually they paid him $50,000 to let him do this movie and to sign an agreement. He's not going to sue.
Now, wait a minute. Now, he's on your podcast still, right?
Right.
And you guys are friends.
We're not friends. We are the opposite of friends.
Now, you're not friends, but you're on a podcast together.
Well, because here's the deal.
Yeah.
In my mind, I have just wanted to put a closure on this. Because, you see, it was to the point because Jimmy Kimmel pushed it, and he'd give it to everybody. So these people, first of all, oh, this is a Jimmy Kimmel movie. You know, which was cool. I mean, Stern said it was the greatest movie he'd ever seen.
Yeah, he loves it.
People were coming up like, I met James Caan.
James Caan, awesome.
Into it.
In
like,
The Godfather.
Right, in The Godfather. Here's Sonny Corleone telling me how Eminem wanted to meet us. So we went to a video shoot. And these guys were like ready to, in the movie, if Johnny Knoxville would have done it at the time, there were so many bands that were such fans that they would have done this. Eminem wanted to do something.
A track on it, whatever, anything, be in
absolutely. Fall Out Boy, we were going to have him play 4 gay guys that were...
Fuck that.
I know, but
we'll
I'm just
edit
saying,
out their name.
But,
no, I'm just kidding.
But Fall Out Boy, they loved it.
Now, hold on now. So you do a podcast with this guy, but you don't like him. Now, this is one thing that I'm always confused on, Don, like on you, is like early on. There was one time where I saw your lady go get some ice cream for Brody, and he didn't like the flavor or whatever, and he threw it. Now, I never can tell if you are like joking with people at the store or in life, like, fuck that guy, to get some, like, momentum press or something, whatever.
Well, to tell you the truth.
I mean, do you hate these guys? Like, last night you were ripping Brody.
Last night was real.
Yeah. Where's my HBO Go show? I'm wacky, too, and all that you were doing. And I was like, wow.
I'm insane. Give me an HBO Go show.
Yeah.
Well, you see, Brody, if you're not familiar, Brody Stephens.
Had him on the show.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Good guy, funny guy. I like him. I consider him a friend. But he is, in my mind, and, you know, he's never been cool with me.
Right. Now, we've had some personal talks about it. You don't remember because you probably were stoned or whatever. But we've talked personal about Kimmel and I mean, you know, whatever. Just like your life.
Right.
Which is different than when you're anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's like Brody, there's some stuff, like last week, we were fake fighting.
Right. Exactly. I see that on Vine and stuff.
Right. And it's a big thing where we were doing, I hurt his shoulder and he hurt my knee.
That's right.
Just stupid.
Funny stuff. Though.
But it's like, I just want people, like, what the fuck is going on here?
And it's great Comedy Store shit.
Right. But Brody, the other day, so now what we do, we have the band. Now, Brody was originally in the Barris Brody Overdrive.
I remember.
Do you remember when Brody was in it?
I do remember.
Brody,
because he had cowbell. I play cowbell and all that.
But he had a tambourine. He was the guy that kind of like was the first guy that chair drum, because I would lip sync with the Ding Dong Show all the time.
Right.
So I was into the music thing. And for the Barris Kennedy Overdrive, I've just edited some songs that like catchy hooks, catchy guitar licks, and it would go into another song completely different, like
it's like medleys of songs that shouldn't be together.
Exactly.
So you've got like Scorpions comes on, da-na-na, da-da, and then all of a sudden it goes into the gayest song ever.
Right.
So,
one of the things we do an Outkast song, we do a Pharrell song, and then we go into Ace of Base song.
Right.
So but everybody knows it.
It's so good though. I mean, I watched it last night, and I was like, this is so dumb and funny. You know?
Mary Jane.
I thought the Barris Kennedy Overdrive never did covers.
Yeah, what's going on? I thought you didn't lip sync either. You just said you lip sync last night.
I don't know what's going on here. I must be really high.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, so we had this. So Rick Ingram, great guy, and I'll tell you this. In a way, I have a lot of respect for Rick because he came to here from Kansas. He's a young comic, and a lot of people find him really, really funny. But let's just say this, he has kind of a bitterness to him.
Right.
And nobody's good enough. And I actually kind of understand the stage he's at, because anything he does, this isn't funny. And he's kind of like afraid to do it because everything he does in his mind isn't good enough.
Right.
Yet the audiences will like it, but he doesn't think it's good enough. So he has a real, he judges a lot of people, which is, and he'll tell people to their face, you suck.
Yeah.
He has no problem doing that. And I will say this, he's always been unbelievably respectful to me. Unbelievable. And so I was asked if the Barris Kennedy Overdrive he was taping 5 shows for some web series or something like it, in between.
Yeah, he's
sets.
doing a talk show right now where he interviews crowd members.
Right, and he kind of goes out there and he just goes out and he kind of improvises off the audience, which a lot of warm-ups do, which I'm very good at.
Right.
And what he would do, so they didn't want a warm-up in between but they wanted something different. So they asked if we would play the BKO. And I will tell you, we did 2 songs in between each thing. First song we did, I'm looking at people and they are just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And so what I did is I jumped in the crowd, and by the end of the second song, they were singing along. Like, I hold the mic out and they were singing. Anyway, so I asked Brody, hey, listen, tomorrow night is this thing. Can you get in touch with me and tell me if you'll do this? He wouldn't get in touch with me. And this guy lives near the phone.
Right. Oh, yeah.
We
know dudes like that. I just talked about it last night.
Oh, really?
There's like 20 guys that we know. The whole time you're with them, their face is in the phone.
Exactly. So,
and then when you text them, nothing.
So I get him, and I know this. So now I'm actually at the store, and I see him looking at his phone. He doesn't see me. I text him, are you ever going to answer any of your... So now I say... So I go up to him, and I'm trying to be nice. Hey, would you do this? And he's like, oh, I got stuff to do tomorrow. I go, what are you doing? He says, I got to read these scripts because on Thursday and Friday I'm shooting this thing for my show. Okay, well, why don't you, this is just going to be for a couple hours. Why don't you do that during the day and come by? So he was kind of being wishy-washy. I don't think he was overly excited, but he's kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah.
He's above the BTO now. BKO.
He's above everything. He's the most important person in the world. Now, my feeling was, and then he leaves. He says to me, yeah, I'm going to try to do it. I'll let you know tomorrow. So now he leaves. A minute later, I walk out the same way. I see Jason Tebow. He comes up to me and says, oh, yeah, Brody says there's no way he's doing it. I said, just less than a minute ago, he said he's probably going to do it. He'll let me know the next day. So I write him, did you just tell Tebow you're not doing it? No response. I wake up like late every day.
Right.
This is very early for me. I get up at 2 or 3.
What time do you go to bed?
7 in the morning.
What?
Yeah, because I'm usually editing my podcast or I'm putting just whatever. Anyway, so I get up, no message. And I go, is this the way you handle it? Who the fuck do you think you are? And he immediately rips on me, so it became a thing. So last night I come to and I'm just like, Brody, fuck you. I'm tired of talking to you. I'm tired of trying to be your friend. I'm done. I come to the store that night. He's telling the manager, and I'm like listening, and I'm like, are you tattling on me?
I saw you talking about that.
So that's what you saw.
Because you're like, this little bitch was telling the manager, but no one knew who you were talking about.
Didn't matter. Everybody knew. Because they saw, because before that happened, he was like, I've never seen him more aggressive.
Right.
It's very sad because we work well together.
Yeah, man. You guys did. It's unbelievable. This is why I love the Comedy Store, like more than anywhere else in the planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
The lunacy that goes on down there is just, it's incredible. You know what I mean? I don't think you could get that anywhere else.
There is no other place in the world.
There is no place.
And what's so depressing to me is the people that stay and watch me at the end of the night.
Right.
And I'm not pushing myself. I just, because I bring up people, I do a lot of crazy stuff, and it's not 100% because of me. But I'm telling you, people come up at the end of that, and they're like, oh my God, we were ready to leave. This is the greatest. How often do you do this? I'm here every night. Are you? And I get people that come back constantly.
Right.
But they don't, the Comedy Store doesn't push it.
Yeah.
It's like late night at the Comedy Store, it's like no other place in the world. And sometimes it starts at 1:45.
Yeah, they should call that thing like Last Call with Don Barris. You know what I mean? Like, let's stop into the store. It's free for the last half hour or whatever.
They all say this kind of stuff. Well, I think they stopped taking tickets or taking money.
Yeah, like midnight.
Or midnight, 12:30 or something like that.
So if you had it as like a Last Call with Don Barris and people around Hollywood knew, hey, we can go hang and watch these guys get loony. Because I was going to tell some guys immediately today in the music biz, friends of mine, just to come see it.
Let me tell you this. When I first came to town, and this is, obviously I'm not what this person is, so I'm not comparing myself, but he set a late night vibe. But Sam Kinison, it was like the craziest thing. Even though the Comedy Store was doing much better, let's say it was 1:30 in the morning, there might be 20 people in there. What would happen, Sam would come on as the last person, and then what would happen is this. Sam would bring...
In the main room, right?
No, in the original room. Every night.
Did he go on last every night?
Not every night, but when he was around, he would.
Right.
And this is after his Rodney special. So it was like... And the people that would come in, you would see big-name bands. I remember seeing... the entire band Toto.
Right.
And they were with Rosanna.
Steve Lukather.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. And then you'd see, and they were with Rosanna Arquette. And I remember, wow, the song Rosanna. There's the band. There's the girl they wrote the song about. But I mean, like...
That's when I started going, see?
Oh, really?
In like 88, 89, I was with this guy, and he was dealing blow, and my other buddy was dating the head waitress there. But we would go on, it was like Sunday or Monday, and it would be in the main room, and Dice would go on last. Right. They would and everyone on Sunset Strip would go, you got to see this guy. He just insults people till they leave. And I remember we would go every week, and he'd be coming out, and he'd be like, is that your girl? They go, yeah. Oh, the fat fucking pig. She is a whore, ball sucking bitch whore. We're out of here. And then other people would laugh and he go, what are you laughing at? You fucking shitty ass time, God damn.
I came and I saw when Dice went from that level.
Yeah.
And then I went on a road with Dice for a while, and it was really interesting because I did some of his last arena shows.
Wow.
I went with him to Madison Square Garden.
And you were like the feature?
What I was,
the opener, or
what they would do, Dice wanted me to piss off the audience. So he brought me along mainly to insult him, because I'd call him Dunce.
Yeah.
And
Dunce Clay.
And I would just rip on him. He took me on the road. We did movies. He'd always have me there, and I would just...
Yeah. Mary Jane, grab that right there. Look at that cassette there. That's right there, that Dice there. That's a original cassette I bought.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day right
Dice
there.
rules. Well, he, it was funny because like I mean, and you know, I got to do some little movies. Like we went to Portland. We did this movie called Brain Smasher, and so for the entire month, I lived across the hall in the hotel at the Heathcote, I believe, from Terry Hatcher.
Right.
You know, and then after that thing, she became, you know, Supergirl, and
right.
She was in a Bond movie. So, but anyway, that was some fun stuff, and it worked until, you know, just great.
Now, were you doing any drugs?
I will say this during the time, because I got to know Kinnison a little bit.
Right.
And there was like about a 3-month period. It was when Marc Maron was there. I did Maron's show.
Right.
And we talked about these
Yeah,
times.
yeah. Right.
And it was kind of intense. I mean, guys that were around there that are still around. Schubert's the only other guy.
Yeah.
Marc Maron, Schubert, myself. And it was just, we'd go up to Crest Hill. But it was like, Kinnison was also unbelievably interesting. I remember he took me to his house once, just myself and this other guy. And he goes, I want you to look at this. He popped in a videotape, and it was him doing the World Hunger bit.
Uh-huh.
And he said, what's different, the way that I did it here and the way I do it now? And I said, well, it seems that in this one, you yell through the thing, through your entire
right.
joke. And now you yell what basically is on the punchline. And I just remember shaking his head, because he kind of like understood that I'm not this fucking idiot guy.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you know what's weird is I never thought you were an idiot or anything.
Thank you.
Not at all. No, but what I'm
That's
saying
quite a
is,
compliment.
last night I really, for real, was like, man. I mean, we had some conversations, and we loved the same music. Yeah. And I gave you that music about a year ago, and you always bring me up really cool and everything. And then last night I was like, man, I love this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks, man.
So I was like, this is so.
Well, then it's good you saw it right before we did this.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I was like, oh, I got to watch this. I want to know what the fuck is going on, you know?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you something. One of the reasons I wanted to come by here, because I did want to talk music. I hope we have time to talk music.
No, we are. We got no, there's no time limit.
Okay. You know, it's like one of those things that I can probably, and here's a game I love to play, and not many people are very good at it.
Right.
But all right, here's the game. You're going on a 10-week tour.
Right.
And it's all magical. Now, what you can do?
Al Madrigal?
No, not Al Madrigal.
Okay.
Funny stuff. All right, so what you can do is this. You have 1 week where you're part of an entourage. You're not like the inner circle, but you're in with a band, and you can pick a time, an exact time, but you can go back in time and pick 1 week, and you are part of the entourage of 10 bands. It's a 10-week tour.
It's 10 bands or one band?
You could do one band,
right?
In different eras.
I do one band.
Really?
I do one band.
Really?
I do the entire 77 Zeppelin tour.
Really?
Yeah, 100%, because that is, to me,
wow.
To me, is the peak of rock and roll. They've got the plane.
To me, it's kind of boring, but go on.
Oh,
10 weeks, but you could see that in 1 week.
They got the plane, though.
I know it, but you're on the plane.
Yeah, I'm on the plane.
You're on the plane.
Yeah. But
see, I would go different bands.
No, here's why I like Zeppelin.
All right.
Every night, totally fucking different. You know what I mean? Like, they play like 3 hours on that tour. Every show's 3 hours.
I'm disappointed.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you why. Because I can see wanting to go at one, maybe even a specific show.
Okay.
Like maybe that show right there in Oakland.
Dan the Green, right.
So you're with them the last week or something like that.
Okay, I split it. I go Zeppelin, and then I go AC/DC.
You got 10
Highway to Hell
weeks.
tour.
See, I could even see, like, you wouldn't want to go on tour with Van Halen for one point.
You know, I love Van Halen, and I love him. I mean, I love him like I can't believe how much I love him. But there's a thing about Van Halen I hate also, and that was kind of like I love David Lee Roth more than anything, and I hate him at the same time. because he never sang or anything. You know what I mean?
Just screamed.
He would just be like, yeah, ooh, look at all the people here. He just became. I mean, early on he sang, and it was
that's
cool.
what I'm saying. Maybe you take
like 77, 78.
Yeah, there's people that have come up with great things. Like people said they wanted to spend a week in Germany with the Beatles.
Right.
You know, and I never thought of that.
Yeah, when they were doing that residency.
Yeah, when they're there for like, they're playing two shows a night, like 4 hour shows or whatever. You know, that would be a thing.
That Hamburg stuff.
Yeah, the Hamburg. Right. I was wondering this, so what would you say? That the reason that I played this game is because I might have to change the rules. You have to go to some place different.
Okay. That's the quickest I have ever seen that game executed. I've seen it go on for hours that was the quickest.
Thank you, Mary Jane. And it's just...
I just hold them on such a plateau.
Yeah, but you know what? But to get a flavor, you wouldn't... I mean, see, there's like some people, they wanted to be at Woodstock. Maybe they're with Jimi Hendrix, the Who at Woodstock.
I got you.
I just think that there's...
You think I wasted my 10 weeks?
I think you wasted your 10-week gift.
To me, I just think that, if you read these books of Zeppelin...
You could even... Now, here's a little twist that I threw in, and I didn't give you the line.
Okay.
You're spending a week on the inner circle, so you might want to be in a recording session.
Nah, because I recorded records, and it's cool, but it's not like the wildness of a tour.
No, it isn't. But to see
some magic be made, I understand that. Yeah,
to see that happen, and like to see what was the response like when Stairway to Heaven was made, when it was done. What did the guys say? What were they saying?
Right.
Not that might be a bad example.
No, it's a good example. It's a good example because they didn't sit there and go, "Well, that's going to be the biggest song of all time."
Maybe they did. Maybe they did. Because there's some people that walk out, that's a hit. It's like I heard Rod Stewart say, the only time he's ever known this is going to be a big hit. What song?
Hot Legs?
No.
Oh, Do You Think I'm Sexy?
Right.
Yeah.
A song that he at one time hated.
Right.
But now he kind of it's still...
I love that record.
The whole record's pretty good.
I love Rod Stewart.
Oh.
I think Rod Stewart is one of the most underrated because he polluted his career on the back end. But if he...
No, why do you say that? Because of what?
Well, the problem with Rod Stewart is he lost his rock and roll edge.
At what point? What point are you saying?
I would say after... the record after that, Do You Think I'm Sexy? There's another record. I think he's wearing a pink suit or something.
A red suit. Is that the one where they have a bunch of them? It's almost like the Elvis cover.
I can't remember, but after once he gets into he does do a cool thing with Jeff Beck. They did that Train.
Right.
That song, but he was never, ever great again. He just became a contemporary, like Tom Jones kind of guy, where my mom would go and stuff, and he really pushed back that Faces era. You got to understand the Faces were considered the dirtier Stones.
Right.
Faces to me are one of the most epic bands.
Who was in that? Ron Wood, Jeff Beck was in it?
No, you had Ron Wood.
What was Jeff Beck with?
Jeff Beck was in, I think it was Small Faces, right?
But how was it? Was it? But he did something with Rod Stewart.
He did. What did he do?
Then who else was in Faces? I know Ron.
Well, you had Ronnie Lane, who was the bass player, kind of and then you had Kenny Jones on drums,
who
played with the Who. Exactly. Ian McClogan on the B3 and keys, who's just unbelievable on the key, like a radical cool player, And then you had Rod, who was just smoking hot, And they had these songs that were so cool, like Flying. That song, I'm flying.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you like Maggie May?
I love it.
Okay. See, they were saying that was a last-second song on that album.
God, I love you. I think that song got me into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love that. Wake up, Maggie. I think I got just that. He's telling this story that you feel like you're right there. I'm right there. I know what the fuck this guy's talking about. You know, Rod is
still disappointed in your 10 bands.
Oh,
I'm really disappointed.
Well, you were disappointed in my number one singer.
Yeah, but at least I understand that.
Right.
At least I understand. And your number one singer was Bon Scott,
right.
of AC/DC.
Right.
And I can kind of understand that, but just to me, of all the people, I would have thought you might have said a Robert Plant or David Lee Roth or
Well, the thing to me about Roth, like I said, I loved him and everything, but later on, I just was like, oh, these other dudes were so much realer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love Roth. Dude, Fair Warning and Women and Children are two records that are on nonstop at this house.
Really?
Nonstop.
Now, where would you say Van Halen started going downhill?
I didn't think any of them were downhill. I think the concerts went downhill. On the Diver Down tour.
Really?
Yeah, because he just stopped singing. Like, even on Fair Warning, he was singing. There's some great bootlegs out there. But then he turns it into this big party, which is what was selling the band. I understand it. But still, if you listen to a bootleg of AC/DC and a bootleg of Van Halen, AC/DC sound like the record, Van Halen just sound like shit. All the bootlegs are just like, eh.
Well, you know what? Because one of my big debates was, when do you see Van Halen for my week?
Oh, well, I saw Women and Children tour, and I think it was one of the most epic shows I ever seen.
Now, do you like 1984? Do you like that album?
I do like it, but not as much as I even like Diver Down. I was listening to Diver Down yesterday.
It's not bad at all.
I really like it, but I think the last record is Fair Warning.
Really?
For sure. Fair Warning is like weird too. Like, how did David Lee Roth write these dark, badass songs on that record? Like Mean Streets and all that stuff is just so, like, it's so rock and good.
Yeah.
It's not about party on that record. It's more about survival. So what do you think
1984 was?
Party. That whole record is just party.
Yeah, but I mean, so you don't like it, though?
I do like it, but it's the last. I don't even own it right now, actually.
Really?
I don't.
That guy finds it funny outside.
Which is the last, which is weird. You know what I mean?
Last David Lee.
Right, last David Lee. I don't know. I think Van Halen, is one of the most incredible bands of all time. They came out of L.A.
Yeah.
They had a guitar player that no one will ever fucking touch.
Really? Now, you see, I was listening to something, and the reason I sorry for interrupting you, I was listening to that Roger Daltrey interview, and now Pete Townsend, I would say, is a pretty good guitar player.
Absolutely, but he plays rhythm.
Does he?
Yeah, only rhythm. There's no leads in The Who. If you listen to it.
Wow.
There's no leads.
Never thought of that.
I mean, maybe one or two in the history of The Who.
But Roger Daltrey they were talking about Jimi Hendrix. They were saying he is without question, the most amazing guitar player ever.
Oh, yeah. Without Hendrix, there's no Eddie Van Halen. Oh, no, I worship Hendrix. But the thing with Hendrix to me was it's a lot of, it's blues. And a lot of the tunes were blues. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a lot of that, I hear that train a coming. It's kind of bluesy.
Right.
Stevie Ray later on takes that. With Eddie, to me, like, for sure, don't get me wrong, Hendrix, no one did that. But Eddie took that and then just went, like, way the fuck out there. Like, what the hell?
I'll tell you one thing that's kind of funny. During the BKO, we do something similar to a guitar solo for Eruption.
Yeah, you didn't do it last night, though, but you had the drum solo, which I loved, Earl. Yeah.
A lot of the things we do, we have, in some of the songs, we have about 5 drum solos that's all the Beatles.
Yeah.
What
it's
is
just
that?
Nothing.
No. What is the... oh, God. It's off the Abbey Road album. You know, the medley? Dun, dun, love.
Oh, Happiness Warm Gun?
No.
Oh.
It's off Abbey Road.
Oh.
The big drum solo.
Oh, yeah. Dun, and, Yeah, what is that?
Right. It's off the medley.
Yeah.
But we do that. I put that in there. I even do a Phil Collins version of that thing. We use that too as a little.
That's funny shit.
But go back. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. But anyway, Eddie, I'm just saying he took it so far. Like whoa, like all that hammer-on finger stuff on the fretboard that no one was doing. And even when I saw him in the early days, he would turn around so you couldn't see how he was doing it.
Why do you think he did that?
Well, because
was he shy?
No, I had a mystique, man. People were like when the records came out. Remember, people would go, "Oh, that's like 3-4 dudes playing," and you know what I mean, like, and the whole thing about Van Halen one was they said there was no overdubs.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean,
See, I wasn't really a fan of theirs when they first came out.
Right.
I had to learn to like them.
Ooh, man.
I know it. Well, I'm just telling you.
I mean, when it first came out, that stuff was just like, whoa, on fire.
I really believe this. Where I was from, it was more like I could go through 80s and even like 70s stuff. What was, pop music. Everything about that.
Right.
I could tell you stuff about that. So I think I grew up in an environment, and my friends were into that, and they actually didn't like heavy metal.
How old are you?
I'm like almost. I don't even want to talk.
Yeah, I'm 47.
Yeah,
but I mean,
same age.
Yeah, because I mean, we like the exact same stuff.
Exactly.
And anytime we talk, we know exactly what the other guy's gonna say.
And it came to a thing where my friends hated heavy metal. So, of course, I couldn't listen to it.
Right.
But then I started getting it a little bit, and then I really started falling in love with a lot of stuff. But I have vast musical taste. Like, could you sit and listen to classical music at all?
Yeah. Like you and I talk all different music. Like, we'll talk the Eagles, and we'll talk fucking,
Who would you say is your top 5 favorite bands? You can't say Led Zeppelin 77.
No. Led Zeppelin is one of my favorites. AC/DC, any Bon Scott stuff. Stones, like I said, 68 to like 81,
Right.
What else? Metallica. All the Metallica from the Black Album back.
Really?
Man.
After the Black Album, you don't like them?
No.
See, there's some people that say the Black Album is when they lost interest in them.
The Black Album's amazing.
I know it. It really is.
God damn.
And
I don't care what anybody
Enter
says.
Sandman is just something.
Sad but true.
Yeah. But I could listen to Enter Sandman. I'd love to put that in a movie where you're driving down a street in an action scene. That's just so powerful.
Good. Also, I saw a lot of my buddy worked for Metallica. This guy Adam, he was the bass player at Jason's Tech. I saw a lot of the Black Album tour. They had a thing called the Snake Pit. It was a round stage, and the fans got to be in the middle of the stage. I'd go to that a lot. There's a pass over there. But I would sit in the middle of the stage and just feel this explosion of this band, just how great they were, I mean, it was unbelievable. And that Injustice for All record, before it.
One.
Yeah,
I
think that's
that was the first time I really heard of him.
I think that's an incredible record. A lot of people don't like that record. I think it's just phenomenal.
What's your favorite Zeppelin album?
Man, we were talking. I said Presence lately, which is just
that
weird.
Just blows me away.
Yeah, I like everything about it. I like that weird album cover.
But what you said is this, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I came up with this theory, and you somewhat agreed with it, that you had heard so much Zeppelin for so long, but it's always the same thing. And Presence was like, oh, I haven't heard much of this. And you started getting into that because you had never really gotten into it before.
Right.
So that's probably your reason.
I'm a weird Zeppelin guy, too. I hated him growing up. Like, that was stoner rock, I used to say. The neighbor liked stoner rock. And, and then when In Through the Outdoor came out, Fool in the Rain, and All of My Love was on the radio. I was like, ooh, I like this record.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot. And then that was the only record I liked by him.
And we were talking about this earlier, the song Hot Dog.
Yeah.
I heard so many people, critics, the worst Led Zeppelin song ever.
Yeah.
I liked it from the very first time I heard it.
Rollins calls it the worst song of all time.
Really?
Henry Rollins, yeah.
Wow.
He thinks it's the worst. I like it because it's just so twisted, you know? It's weird that that's their last record. I mean,
Yeah.
they put that code out, but
Right.
that doesn't count.
No.
You know? Now, Eagles are you and I's big...
I would have to say, it's like when I was just thinking, what would my top 5 bands be?
well, Queen, right? You love
Well,
Queen?
No, I love the Beatles more than anything.
See, I'm not a Beatles guy.
See, I'll tell you this, and it's so cool. It's like in that Eagles documentary, the fact that both Don Henley and Glenn Frey, like Don Henley said, we were both into the Beatles.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was before we knew each other.
Yeah, they're living in Detroit, like watching
Detroit and
TV.
Texas.
Yeah, and watching TV, and they came on. I think anybody at that age, though, don't you think? It comes on Ed Sullivan, you go, fuck.
You know what's like really funny? What I did on my iPod is I'm into like I'll take a band and I'll put everything chronological order. You know, I might, like the Beatles, I have everything in it. But what I'll do is, so when I hear the iPod, you can listen from the beginning, hear their first song all the way to the end, and that's the way I do it. And one of the things I do, I make folders with the top 100 of the year.
Yeah, you're crazy. You were telling me about that.
Well, but what's interesting about that, you listen to like the 60s and the 70s, and you listen to all the shit that surrounds it. Then all of a sudden you hear a Beatles song or a Rolling Stones song. It's like these songs are so different than anything else that's playing at the time.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre because you'll have these like bubblegum music, like
Oh, yeah.
all that kind of stuff of that era, which I don't hate. I think it's for its point. It has its purpose.
Right.
I even like, it's funny that I say that in that Roger Daltrey interview that I just heard like the other day. Roger Daltrey is talking about the band Marmalade because he said, like, Stern asked him, is there any bands you hate? He said, there's no bands we hate, but it's like a band like Marmalade.
Yeah.
And do you even know that band?
No.
Yeah, okay, there's something to look up.
Yeah.
They had like there were a couple one-hit or maybe two-hit wonders of the 60s.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like this, but that's what was playing at the time. And Roger Daltrey, I understand what it was about because these are popular songs and these are 12-year-old girls buying it.
Yeah.
So but it's just so funny to listen to that era of music and how the Stones and
you need that stuff to fund the other bands.
Yeah,
you know what I
guess.
mean?
I
If you
guess.
don't have like, say a Bieber, you're not going to have a.
Every generation has its Bieber. Here's the
Exactly.
question.
You're
I have.
right.
You hear like all these guys, like again going back to Rod Stewart and because Rod Stewart was on Kimmel, so he did an interview there too.
Right.
So I'm listening to these guys, and they're talking about today's music, and they don't like it. And my first thought is are they just old fuddy-duddies?
Of course.
Or is the music, what is the music now? Is there anything good now?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you something interesting. I don't know if it's like, I used to love MTV.
Yeah, me too.
Because it showed so much. I mean, there were bands 100% became stars. Like I look at MTV made bands like Duran Duran.
Oh, yeah.
Who would have never made it here, and now they're huge because of it.
Totally.
And there's no more MTV.
Nope. It's unbelievable.
Videos are kind of a thing of the past. I still think they make them for like huge people, but
Yeah. I haven't even seen videos.
yeah. But
you know, where
think
do you
it's
see
because
'em?
we're older or YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube.
I
and on airplanes. Like if you're flying Virgin, you'll be like, oh, look at this band.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, but what do you think? Is there good music still coming out?
I think here's the thing. There's great music coming out right now, but it's not like it was.
Like, tell me somebody you like. It's like
I think Jack White is fucking a president.
From Michigan.
Yeah, and the thing about like Black Keys, I like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs.
I saw them one of their first TV appearance on Kimmel.
God, so good. I love Rival Sons, who was just on Kimmel. I think they're one of the best bands going right now.
Really?
Because they're super authentic. They're playing rock, but it's not like, here, put these costumes on and just... I was like, whoa, these guys got songs. I love Sheepdogs.
I haven't heard of them.
Sheepdogs from Canada. They're the guys that won that cover of Rolling Stone about 2 years ago. Like, you vote for a band, an unknown band, and they got to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. They won it.
Oh,
they're kind of like Allman Brothers.
I'm sad to see that Rolling Stone has gotten to the level that they're having contests.
That was one time.
Yeah, but still.
Well, in this specific case, a great band won it.
Right.
You know? But here's one thing I always say when I hear the bands. I go, these guys are great. They're like Allman Brothers. And then I go, I'll just listen to the Allman Brothers.
Right. That's funny.
You know what I mean?
You say that.
I go, these guys are great. They're like
Do you think
Zeppelin.
it's because you're getting older, though?
No, I don't think it's because I'm getting older. I think it's, I mean, you could see my house. I've got a wall of music here, a wall that I'm never going to get tired of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's when you grow up, whatever your adolescence is, your first chick,
absolutely,
your first music, and your first few movies. I still think Jaws, Godfather, and Cuckoo's Nest are the best movies ever made. Those are movies I saw.
Is there any movies right now that even are comparable to that? Because I'll tell you, Cuckoo's Nest is just one of the most unbelievable.
It's
Jack
insane.
Nicholson during that time. See, I wasn't that much. I was a kid,
Right.
So I don't know that much. But like Jack Nicholson, look at the movies he was doing.
The Shining.
The Shining is just so freaking great.
Even that Last Detail, which is an early one of his,
Right.
where he's in the
yeah.
Navy and they got to go pick up this prisoner. They considered it the most swearing movie of all time. It had more fuck in it, the word fuck, than anything ever made. He did that. He did Easy Rider. He steals it.
Yes,
you know,
he did.
He just steals Easy Rider. And then, you know, he's in these movies that are just mind-boggling, but he always killed, you know?
Yeah, you know, somebody said something about this, The Shining. They said it's not a great movie, but there's great scenes.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
See, I love the bizarreness of that.
I love The Shining more and more every year. Like, I just went to that Kubrick display at the museum, and it has all the Shining stuff in it. The dresses of the twins,
Really?
the grass maze, the scripts, the typewriter, everything original. They have it in there.
Wow.
And you just look at it for hours. They have photos of the sets, the fake snow that was salt, everything. And I just go, this thing was epic. And then he was epic in it because you look at him slowly go crazy.
But you think of the shots, like the openings, opening of the movie,
It's
when
the
they're
one
going
piece
on
in the Volkswagen.
Yeah, and when they're going through the water, it's just like great filmmaking.
It's
great
great.
filmmaking, and it set the tone for that movie because it's like, okay, you're seeing nothing but nature, and it
Yep.
gets you ready to know and the loneliness of where these guys are going to be.
That's right.
You know, I was thinking about that right now. I would have to say there's a lot of I think Quentin Tarantino has put out some good stuff. I think if there's anything that I didn't like by him, I think it would have to border on the Kill Bill.
You know, it's funny. Those are the only movies I like.
Really?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I worked with Tarantino.
Did you really?
I did the Hell Ride movie, which he produced and edited, and I did a soundtrack. And usually I don't ever say this out in public because people just get like so bent. But I'm not a Tarantino fan.
Oh boy, I'll tell you. I just think that he really.
You know why? Because I don't think he's made a movie that I say that's a Tarantino.
Wait a minute. He has like a style unlike anybody else.
But I think he takes all these styles and then molds them. Like, this is my, like the Reservoir Dogs was that Japanese film. You know what I mean? There's one like it. And he has the shots that are the same as this film. I forget what it's called. Then he's going to do a 70s blaxploitation film. Then he's going to do a Western film. And I don't think there's anything where you go, oh, well, his blaxploitation film is Superfly.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not Tarantino. It's Tarantino doing Superfly. Where the Western is Tarantino doing The Good, the Bad, the Ugly or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying he's not.
I think his dialogue.
I like his stuff.
His dialogue. What was the movie that he didn't direct that I just loved? The one with,
that was True Romance.
True Romance.
Yeah, that's different. You know what I mean?
That is a spectacular movie.
Right.
That is a spectacular movie.
But people who get mad at me.
Gary Oldman in that movie, unbelievable.
Yeah,
you familiar with that?
That's an amazing film, you know? And I like Kill Bills. You know why I like the Kill Bills? Because even though they were kind of like a thing on Bruce Lee and Japanese animation and stuff.
Right.
The thing I liked about it was this primo saga. You know what I mean? Like if you've ever watched it all the way through, they have that version where you can watch the whole thing.
Right.
I was like, this is fucking cool that somebody had that vision.
But let me just say this to you.
Right.
If you say that, but you're saying that you liked it because of that.
Right.
And then you're just going against everything else that he's done.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think I'm entertained by his movies. I see them all and I like them all. But to me, they're not. I don't go and go, I got to watch this once a year. I find when I put it in, I go, yeah, this is him doing this. And then I'll go and look at the real one. Like I'll watch Good, the Bad, the Ugly every fucking year.
Okay, but you know what? It's a Western.
I get it.
It's a Western.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I don't think that Django Unchained was ripping. I think that there's style and there's things in there that might have been influenced in scenes.
Right.
I don't think those two movies are alike at all.
I don't either.
Anyway,
I don't say they're the same. I'm just saying when he does something, he goes, I'm going to do a Western now.
But can you say that about Clint Eastwood when he did Pale Rider and, the movies? He did Westerns.
Right. Right.
I mean, he's doing a Western, he's doing, you can say somebody who does a cop movie.
Right.
I think Pulp Fiction was different than any. What movie would you compare Pulp Fiction with?
Well, I love Pulp Fiction because of what it was at the time. Like nothing had been like that.
So what are you saying he did there?
Well, that movie that movie is the original one, actually. Out of the I don't know. To me, I mean, I'm talking out my ass probably, but I'm just saying he's not like he's not a Coppola to me. He's not a
See, and I'll say this, and then I'll tell you why I defend him so much.
Good.
I think first of all,
and don't get me wrong, because I love guys that have their point of view.
Here's what I love about Tarantino.
Yeah,
he truly loves his work.
Oh, yeah.
He loves movie making. He's been on Kimmel a few times.
Yep.
And I remember one night, a lot of guys, celebrities, they'll come up after the show and they'll go in Kimmel's dressing room and talk. And, there'll be people there. One night, Kimmel was gone. Tarantino stayed there because we started talking movies.
Yeah.
And I remember I disagreed with, what was it about? Who's the guy from Michigan that did Roger and Me? Moore?
Yeah. Michael Moore.
Michael Moore. And he was talking about some movie, and I said to him, and it was like, how when there's a big star and you say something against a big star, everyone else immediately, oh, you're wrong.
Yeah.
But I disagreed with him. I said, to me, after Roger and Me, he got up on his soapbox and turned things to get his point across.
Yeah.
I think he really started cheating after that.
Yeah, they're his point of view for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And everybody, because he had said something different right before that, and everybody, oh, you're wrong. And he, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand.
I'm not saying Tarantino's a bad guy.
Oh, and you know what?
And
I'll tell
love
you, more
guy.
than anything,
Yeah.
he loves Windy City Heat. So
there you go.
It's so fun.
You fucking
I
asshole.
mean, people have actually talked to him about it.
I love Tarantino as a person. I love his passion, and I love his the way the films look, and I love the dialogue and stuff. All I'm saying is, it's like bands that sound like other bands. After a while, I go to the band that they sound like.
So what you're saying is you didn't like Whitesnake.
No. And that's the end of that conversation right there. You understand it. You know what I mean?
You know what? Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Then. How pissed do you think Robert Plant was that eventually Jimmy Page did something with David Coverdale?
Yeah, I think that was a slap in the face. But the good thing was that thing just ate a dick. I own it over there. It's called like.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
What do you? I mean, what's your feeling about that? That's really slapping Robert Plant in the face.
Yeah, and I think Robert Plant over the years has been beat down. That's why he's like, I don't want to get in that machine again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
he Led Zeppelin something before. He's moved on. I think
that's right. He had a fucking successful solo career.
Right when he came out, he had all those albums.
Hell yeah, he had that. Those records. Even the Honey Drippers.
Honey Drippers, I love that.
Yeah, and I saw him live.
5 songs on that.
Yeah, it's great. Great band. I'm glad Zeppelin doesn't get back together ever. I love that. It's like the Clash. The Clash were offered, I heard, like $30 million to do Lollapalooza back in the day or something, and they went, no. I like that, man. Yeah. I like people with integrity, and also it's never going to live up to our expectation.
Absolutely not.
Ever.
Let me ask you this. You're not a Beatles fan.
Nope.
See.
But I love Wings.
Do you?
I love Band on the Run. I think it's one of the best songs ever.
It's a great album. Here's what I look at. Paul McCartney, there'll be people that just despise him. Paul McCartney was, without question, the best band of the 60s.
Yeah.
I guess you would question it because you love the Rolling Stones.
Right.
But for what they did, best band of the 60s. Paul McCartney and Wings, they were according to the Billboard charts and their charts that they make, the second biggest band of the 70s.
Yeah, they're fucking great.
It's unbelievable how successful he is.
That tour, man.
Band on the Run is spectacular.
Listen to the
album.
Man. But
that was from the next album. That was from
right. But I mean, I just love those songs. I loved his flavor. It was weird. The songs on their Band on the Run. Listen to the Man. There's another one too that I really love. When I hear them, I just stop and listen.
Well, it's funny, when he came out with "Live and Let Die."
Yeah, great.
I mean, it was a perfect song for a Bond movie because it's always big.
Yeah.
It's always
gun, gun.
Yeah, and he did it. And then what happens? I mean, it was so cool. I actually like the fact that Guns N' Roses did a cover version.
And it was great.
And didn't change it much.
Right.
When according to the way, like usually bands will change the way that it's played and all that. They didn't change it. And it just kind of...
what? I take back my 10 years. I go 1 year on the headlining tour of Appetite.
Really?
Yeah, man. Whoa, that had to be fucking...
Can I tell you this?
Yeah.
We were talking about Dice earlier, and I had been booked to go to La Jolla with Paulie many years ago. Well, Dice came up to me one night and said, hey, listen, Guns N' Roses and Metallica are playing the Rose Bowl.
Oh, so good.
They want me to go in between them. And I want you to come with me. I want you to film me. I want you to come out on stage and film the whole thing.
Oh, you did it, right?
I couldn't do it because I had to go to... I couldn't turn down Paulie.
Yeah.
Because it was a time I was just getting into the store, just getting spots. He was taking me to La Jolla.
I understand that move. And
it was like, you talk about a decision. And I saw some footage from him going in the dressing room. Hey,
you cocksucker. Yeah. And there's the band, the biggest ever.
Right. And I mean, right there, there's probably the peak of Metallica, peak of fucking...
That's right.
I mean, right there. And that would have been incredible to see. I regret that. I might have liked to have done that. But what was I going to add? I was in the middle of saying something to you. I see you looking at the time.
I'm just making sure that we're still wrong. What happened was I look at it all the time. If the machine works great. But one time I had Alonzo Bowden on, right? I had been trying to get Alonzo on for like a year because we love motorcycles.
Right.
So he's on. We're talking. The first 15 minutes of the podcast is epic. He's telling these great story. And then I go, oh, fuck. It stopped for some reason, right? And I go, let me get it again. And we started up, and it stopped again. And there was it was a bad card I had. Bad SIM card, or the card for those, the memory card.
Right.
And then by the third time we fired it up, the podcast had kind of lost this steam. Right. And I could tell he was like, fucking guy, what am I doing here? In my career, I'm over at this guy's house doing some shit podcast. His machine doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Sorry to hear
and I can
that.
feel it. So I'm always paranoid now, and I don't know why.
You know what? You should have a. Well, I have a whole mixing board, and I put it through my computer, and I have a backup of one of those.
Right.
So just in case, I'm getting everything. What were we talking about before?
We're talking about GNR. What about GNR? You a big fan?
There's sometimes it takes me a while to get used to a band. Sometimes I even don't like the first album, and by the second album I start understanding it. Guns N' Roses was a band that I got right off the bat when I first heard them.
Me too.
I mean, and I think the first time you hear it, you hear that Slash's guitar solo on "Sweet Child of Mine," and you think about that guitar solo is spectacular.
Yeah, you mean the opening riff?
Yeah,
or the solo? The solo in the middle,
the opening riff.
Oh yeah,
when you first hear, it's just like, my God.
Yeah,
and they did, and it's cool that a band that is that heavy metal and whatever was able to get the big budget videos.
Yeah.
I think November Rain, what an incredible video.
Yeah, just crazy, right?
And the money spent on that, but it's an incredible video.
Oh, you'll watch it right now if it came on. You sit down and you go, look at this, it's cool.
And Slash's guitar solo in that desert with his hair blown.
Church, yeah. Yeah.
Because he was getting married.
Yeah. Stephanie Seymour's friends.
Yeah.
The thing is with GNR to me is the first band that I felt was my band, my generation.
Really?
Yeah, because I like Zeppelin, but I was young. That was before me, and then Nugent,
right?
And then Kiss. I started to get way into music, but then when GNR hit, I go, these guys are my age,
right?
And I'm playing music. And these guys made it. You know what I mean? They're like the heroes.
Where were you in at that period, like 87 when they came out?
I was in the Bay Area. San Francisco.
I'll tell you, because I had just gotten here to town.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about that time, the Sunset Strip.
Oh, no, but I was always here.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, see, I played music. And that Sunset Strip, to me, was nothing like you'll ever see again.
And here's the crazy thing. I grew up.
That had to be so weird for you.
In Michigan.
Yeah.
Now, Michigan, if you don't know Michigan, music is huge there. I mean, you can go back, MC5, one of the first heavy metal bands, really. I mean,
Kick Out the Jam, so badass.
Kick Out the Jam. I mean, Bob Seger. But I mean, you look at the history of it, but then you also look at this. Motown, which was basically in Detroit, and it makes you wonder how big bands and singers start, because in a city block in Detroit, growing up, there was Diana Ross's house, Aretha Franklin's house, and Smokey Robinson's house.
Crazy.
That was in a city block in Detroit.
Right.
And what Barry Gordy from Motown did is he took these local guys, and it was like he had the Funk Brothers playing that music.
Sick.
Which it's just of the
best documentaries ever.
Oh, really? Stand in the Shadows?
Oh, I love it.
I'll tell you this. One of the cool things, with Kimmel, we went to Detroit for the Super Bowl. And
Stones?
What's that?
The Stones one, where the Stones played.
No. The Stones
played the Super Bowl in Detroit. That's
See,
the one
we were doing a show.
Yeah, halftime.
We were doing a show there. We were doing a show that day because we had a lot. They had shows all week, but during the day, I had time to do anything I want. I had a buddy drive me around. And I'd never seen the Motown studios. Oh. And I was putting in stickers and putting them on there and all. But it's so cool. And you're thinking, all this music. They were competing with, they were the top selling, because the Funk Brothers were playing everything. So in a way, the Funk Brothers were part of all those songs that were huge. So they rivaled every other band in the world.
They were on a million hits.
They were bigger than the Beatles as far as music, because they were part of all those Motown songs.
That's right. Yeah. The Temptations to me are they're God to me.
And the Funk Brothers, they played Kimmel, and there was some reason that a lot of stuff wasn't going on. So I was on stage cracking jokes with the Funk Brothers, the remaining Funk Brothers, and I didn't really realize who they were until after that. But my God.
Yeah, man. I mean, those guys just...
And they were laughing. They were the coolest dudes ever.
just to be able to like that Get Ready to me is the Funk Brothers masterpiece as far as how you hear these guys play together. You're going like, that's like, you know, dudes playing that. You know what I mean? You got to sit back for a minute. It's like it's just like, you know.
You know what's funny about Motown? And then do you know the band that they brought to Motown, a white band that they turned a lot of those Motown hits, but they did it heavy metal.
Who was that?
Oh, what the fuck is the name of it? It's just on my head. But they did Get Ready. Oh, shit. God, I could tell you this any day, and it was just on my mind.
There's a metal band, huh?
It was, well, heavy. It was, you know, rock. It was rock, but they were white, and they did all these, but they were on Motown's label.
Wow,
why can't they had damn, this is gonna kill me.
What era?
Early 70s.
Oh, early 70s.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know it.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure I do know it, you know,
but they did like these, like one of their songs was a 21-minute version.
Oh.
And because do you remember any of the early 70s songs? Like some of that was just like they had that organ. It was all kind of the same style.
Yeah, you know, like I really like the James Brown era of the 70s because everything's B3 in that era. You know what I mean? The organ.
Not really. I don't know what you're saying. B3 is it?
B3's that organ. Who?
Yeah, well, that's what.
Oh, yeah, B3. Yeah, B3 is like, you know, was the sound of like, you know, like Booker T and the MGs,
Oh,
you know,
really?
that, and then everybody got into it. Like, it's the organ that's in church, you know, and has
was it a Hammond organ?
Yeah, the Hammond organ.
Yeah.
It has the spinning Leslie speaker, and that era of like James Brown. You know, Temptations. They all
Franklin.
had that just pew, you know.
But what I was trying to, I started making this point, and I'm gonna figure out. Oh God, it just came to me again, and then I lost it. I might have to go get my. Before I go, you got to come out to the car so I can show you on my iPod. This is driving me crazy. Anyway, but I was growing up 90 miles from Detroit, and there was a lot of music that came from it. I never saw any of it. When I was here in the 80s on Sunset Strip, I never saw any of that.
That's weird.
I mean,
like, what were you doing? Because you were just doing
Rare Earth.
Rare Earth. Oh, yeah.
Rare
I remember
Earth.
that, man. Yeah.
Good job, Mary Jane. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
No, I mean, you know, the 80s, like, what people don't understand is from the store basically up to the Rainbow would be
less than a mile.
Yeah, would just be like probably 20, 30,000 kids.
Yeah.
Walking around.
Absolutely.
Flyering. The telephone poles looked pregnant. They would be 100 flyers deep. I remember each week the city had this long kind of sword with a blade on it, and they would come down Sunset and just, and they would cut down the middle of it and just peel off and throw them in these trucks of just like a wall of flyers every pole. And as soon as you put a flyer up, we used to call it Flyer Wars. The next band was right behind you, right over yours, you know, Flyer Wars. And I talked about it on another podcast where the band would be totally dead broke, no food or nothing, but they had the dopest flyer.
Right.
Full color back then,
You
man.
look at like Guns N' Roses stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
That's the exact story of those
Shit's
guys.
worth money, those flyers now.
Oh,
you
is
know?
it?
Oh, yeah, man.
I want to ask you this.
Yep.
And I was thinking about when I was coming over, and I thought about this. A real moment. I remember actually shedding a tear over this.
Yeah.
The day that Tower Records closed.
That was a bummer, man.
Because
that's a real bummer to me.
That might be when that closed. That's when I
the
started.
era's done.
That's when, to me, because what I would do every Tuesday.
Oh, I
was there.
New releases,
and they were always marked lower than they would be the rest of the time.
They had the best magazines too on that back wall.
Absolutely. Oh, it was, and then you think the history of like, you know, of Tower Records, of Tower Video across the street.
Loved it.
Didn't both
Axel
Slash?
worked there? Yep. And Slash, Axel was the manager. You know,
crazy.
They drank beer on the job.
Just crazy.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's just
Remember next to that, the Viper Room was the Central Club?
Yep.
And that was like blues, and like Stray Cats would play in there and shit. Chucky and the Goddamn Liars.
Chucky, Chuck E. from the 1979 hit by, why can't I
Chucky's in love.
Right. What was her name?
Oh, that's, God, I know. That's,
Some of the Ricky Lee Jones.
No.
Yeah.
Ricky Lee Jones? Yeah, is that it? Ricky Lee Jones?
Look it up. Chucky's in
love. Ricky Lee Jones, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was the other girl. It's probably Ricky Lee.
It was about Chucky Weiss.
Yeah.
Who played every one day. Was it Monday or Tuesday?
It was Monday. Every Monday. At that Central Club. Yeah.
For years.
Man, I love L.A.,
There's so many points. I remember, and there's just like, if you bring somebody here, and I used to like kind of give the tours, and you'd look, like, you look at the Chateau Marmont. Well, there's where Belushi died.
That's
you look over at this Central.
The places, man.
Yeah, which is the Viper. Well, there's where River Phoenix died.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like so bizarre.
You go to the whiskey. I was talking to Bill Burr about this a couple of weeks ago, or whenever we went there, we went and saw Dawkins, But you're thinking, man, it is fucking still open.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I mean, Lou Adler's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight on HBO.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, he got inducted about a month ago.
Who else is going?
Rush, Public Enemy.
Okay.
And, what was it?
Ricky Lee Jones.
Ricky Lee Jones. There you go. But Lou Adler.
Is Hart in there too?
Hart is in there too. I can't wait. It's going to be on tonight.
Wow.
But Lou Adler is like the guy's a rock god.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that family, they open the Roxy. He opens it with David Geffen. And to compete against the Troubadour because they're like, fuck the Troubadour, because they made them wait in line. So they go and open their own club. They got the Rainbow.
But you look at the Troubadour. I mean, look at the history there.
The Troubadour's God.
There's two things, and if they had nothing else, the Troubadour should never close.
Never.
They were the ones. That's where the place that broke Elton John.
The Eagles.
I didn't know the Eagles, but one of the great moments of rock and roll history with Harry Nilsson and John Lennon.
John Lennon. Oh, that's where they get in a fight.
They were so drunk.
Yeah.
And they were going to see the Smothers Brothers at the Troubadour. They got thrown out.
Yeah, that's where Lennon has his only fist fight, I heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was he was like this king give peace a chance or where he had some bad night with Yoko, and he goes to the Troubadour, gets drunk, and gets in a fist fight, and it was like a big deal, like, oh, Mr. Peace, Well, that's Tom Waits. There's a famous story there where Doug Weston, who owned the Troubadour,
right?
A guy didn't make it on that hootenanny night, and Tom Waits had been asking to go on for like a year, and he goes, all right, he didn't make it, get up there and fucking play, and he got a record deal the second he stepped off stage.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, and then GNR broke in there later on. That room is epic. They used to do comedy in there.
God, it's just, there's so many places in L.A. like that.
That's what I love about L.A. and San Francisco. They have these rock souls, Like San Fran with that whole hippie thing in the 60s.
I was trying to think of the last band that I really fell in love with, and it might be that San Francisco band. I really love Green Day.
Oh, yeah, Green Day.
And I'll tell you this. I remember when I really fell in love with them, I saw them at like a K-Rock weenie roast.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of bizarre because of the fact, Jimmy Kimmel was working K-Rock at the time, so we could get backstage passes.
You get these primo passes.
And during Green Day's, I thought, my God, this band is great. They're really, really great. And then during that show, the bass player from Third Eye Blind came out to the bass player of Green Day during the show.
Yeah.
And he just punched him.
Oh,
knocked him out. I remember it getting on MTV and all that. And I remember seeing it from the wings.
Right.
And then I was almost like, and then it got to the end. I was thinking, God, this band is unbelievable. And they got to the end. They broke all their instruments. I was thinking, why would they do that?
Yeah.
That's been done so many times before.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just put a damper on the whole thing. Then they had one guitar, and they went into that Good Riddance Time of Your Life.
Yeah.
So they broke all their instruments to play that acoustically.
That's cool, actually.
And I thought,
why
whoa. They took me to that shit place that I thought, oh, you rip-offs, why would you do that? Then they did that, and I thought, yeah, I love Green Day.
Yeah, man. You know, it's I mean, fuck, we could talk music for hours.
Oh, I really.
I mean, that's what we do. That's why I love having you on. You know what I mean? I was like, you know,
it's been fun coming here. I really have been. You know, this was just
awesome.
like just talking.
Yeah, I mean, I want to have you on again. You know, Earl and I are starting a podcast called.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called The Coke Party, and it's just about Hollywood rock.
Are you going to do it here?
Yeah, probably, or somewhere, you know.
Have Earl put up some money for new equipment. Seriously.
Yeah, Earl's all, yeah, buddy, whatever it takes, you know.
Because I've been telling him, you should do that, man. Because I'll tell you, these podcasts, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I talked to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan consistently has one of the top 5 iTunes podcasts.
Right.
Podcasts on iTunes. You know, and I see these guys, and it's like, Joe Rogan was smart because what he did is he put together a podcast network.
That's right.
And
it was like
that's
a community.
All these guys that are living off Joe Rogan's umbrella have become stars.
Yeah, like Ari.
Ari, #1 comedy album on iTunes when he released it. Did it all himself.
Yep.
And it's it's just so cool. Like one of the things that we're going to do real soon with the Perry thing, the Windy City Heat thing, there's a group of people that are talking about giving us money for a sequel, so nothing's there.
Yeah, how about Kickstarter? I bet you could get it going.
But you know what? I'd rather, because if I deal with it, I'm going to deal with some really big people. And you know what? Yeah. And there's some really screwy things about Kickstarter because I looked into that.
Okay.
There's some really screwy things that they own, and it's just like, and they have a right to tell you what goes on and things like that. There's something there that I didn't like about it.
In the pocket.
Right, yeah.
Their hand, so it's only good for bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Right. And this could be something kind of special. And so there are some people coming into this, which is very cool. But one of the things that I want to do, when I started this project, it was mainly I was trying to compete with the Jerky Boys at the time.
Right.
And the Jerky Boys had some albums and everybody liked it, but I really started seeing it as it got in there. People were hanging up on them immediately. They'd make these prank phone calls. If you're not familiar with the Jerky Boys, they did these characters and they make all these calls to people.
Awesome.
Some of them were great, but by their 4th or 5th album, you'd get, hey, I'm doing this character that I've done before. Yeah. And okay, goodbye. Yeah. And like it was really.
It got too big.
Right. And should
I bring my tools?
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
There was some funny stuff there, and people on the East Coast, it's right up their alley because they use those characters were like.
Right.
Anyway, the point is that's what I got involved in, and so I recorded all of our phone calls. I actually got 2 phones, and what we did is we have like almost 1,000 hours of phone conversation. Some of them are unbelievably funny.
Right.
So what I'm going to do at one point, we're going to edit these things down, these 1,000 hours down, and I'm going to make an album a month for 2 years.
Oh, that's great.
Put out 24 albums. Yeah, and release it on iTunes, and and it's a way to make a lot of frickin' money.
It is, man. It is like podcasts. Here's the thing. Podcasts, now, and I'm going to tell you because people listen to my podcast. I get a lot of people that listen to it.
Yeah.
The first one I had was Poolside with Dean Del Rey, and I get on to the Toad Hop Network, and I'm working my ass off for a year, and I'm not getting a fucking nickel, and I'm bringing in giant guests, and I've got 50, 60,000 listeners.
Really?
Yeah. So I talked to Bill Burr one day, and I talked to Maron. This is like 2 years ago or whatever, and Maron was like, oh, yeah, man, this is what you should be, advertising and this stuff. And I'm doing ads on my podcast, and I'm asking the guys for the money, Heidi and Frank, and they're like, oh, there's no money all the time. And I was like, you know what, man? fuck this.
Right.
You know, this is bullshit. I'm bringing down, like, you know, Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols.
Really?
I'm bringing in Jacob Dylan. I got fucking John Bernthal from The Walking Dead there right before the season finale. You know, like, huge guess.
Can I just say, I hate to interrupt you, but I got to get one thing out.
Yeah.
John Lyman.
John.
What's that?
John Lyman.
Yeah, Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
All right. It's very funny. He came on Kimmel and his whole band, they were huge fans of Windy City Heat. There was a magazine article that was shown to me where he came out and said, "Oh, I saw this movie, Windy City Heat. It's all fake. I know for a fact." He's actually full of shit, but he's talking about my movie, how we're trying to con people. And
Yeah.
I just had to say that. I would have never gotten it out there, and I've never told that before. But how cool is that?
That's awesome,
Fucking
man.
Sex Pistols, full of shit.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, all great movies need to be bigger. Like, Gummo is a masterpiece.
Gummo.
Yeah, you never seen that?
No.
Gummo's just a fucking weird-ass movie, man. You got to see Gummo.
But you were talking about this.
So I spend all this time, a year, building up this thing, and then, boom, they jump ship to KLOS, and there's no Toad Hop anymore. Then I'm over at, Lovett's doing the GoCast, and,
What was that?
That sucked too, because every week they were saying something was going to happen and nothing would happen. The thing is, this time I want to try to do it like with Earl, Coke Party. I want to have like a real network like Bill Burr, his All Things Comedy or something. Those guys aren't going away.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? Here's the deal, and I say this. I'm going to do the same thing, and I've been trying to plan that for years because when I saw Adam Carolla, that's what he was supposedly trying to do.
Right.
But he wasn't, the people around him. But Adam just didn't give a shit.
Right.
Because Adam Carolla, always in the top 5, sometimes
Always.
the number 1 guy of podcasts. He's got a huge following. And Adam and Joe Rogan have also taught this. They don't have to do radio. They can say, we're going to be in Cincinnati. Sold out because they've got so many fans.
That's right. I love it.
It's just, you can run your life from your living room.
Marc Maron,
exactly.
So I learned when I did Maron, I got hundreds of emails a day. People going, your stories are great. I love the rock. I love your passion for rock.
Right.
And, oh, my God. So it's like the market is there. They want to hear great stories and stuff. And you love music. I love music. Earl loves music. We have you on or whatever. You know what I mean? Nonstop. And we talk about stuff. And I love being able to take calls, too.
Yeah, see,
that's my favorite.
But you know what? But then you got to go. You got to do it live.
Right.
That's the only way you can do it. And I'll tell you something. That's what Earl will be. Because Earl.
Yeah.
What Earl needs. Earl's a funny guy and he's a hard worker. But he's just, I think, because of the fact you just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you get out there and get this?
Yeah.
If he has a successful podcast, and if you do it live and then put it on tape.
Yep.
So they can listen to it from then on.
That's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. Well, you're going to need a little money.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to go to this place where they're doing Punch Drunk.
You know what? I'll tell you this. I'll be very honest with you. Mm. Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Do it yourself.
I know.
Because if you've got Earl.
Yep.
Make an investment because you know what'll end up happening?
Yeah. What just happened to me? People lose interest and then you're down.
Then you're on. I've got my own. I have my studio.
Yeah.
Built the studio up. I own everything.
Yeah.
I own every single thing. Nobody can take. If I don't want to do it, it's done.
Yep.
If I want to do it now, what I'm going to do? I wanted to wait to get more people on. Where they were getting everything for free on the podcast.
Right.
And then I'm going to start trying to look for advertisers. But I'm telling you this.
You're right, dude.
The one thing that Red Band, who runs Joe Rogan's Death Squad network, said, consistency. And he does our Ding Dong show, which is like 5 weeks behind.
Right.
We have a podcast, the Ding Dong show.
I know. People complain, too. They complain.
Twitter's been crazy.
Yeah, they're like, where are these?
And I have to. But if you have it yourself,
yep.
and you buy the equipment, and you know what, have Earl put in a little money because it's going to help his career immensely. It's an investment in his career.
Right.
Get it so you don't have to worry about another fucking
I'm totally
soul.
down with that, but what I want to do is hire a producer that runs the equipment while we're doing it every
you get
week.
some guy.
That's right.
You get some guy that comes to you.
That's right.
Don't go someplace where someone else owns something from
Yeah.
you. I'm telling you,
Yep.
Dean, I
You're
really
right.
mean that.
You're
and
right.
you know what? 100% I own everything, and I'm going to start putting all these other shows on my network. And you know what? And then I sell. All right, let's put it on.
Yep.
I've got a group of people
Backlog of 50.
Yeah.
That's how Maron does it. Like after 50 or up, they're not free anymore. You got to go $10 to listen to the last 50 from,
How quick did you get on when you recorded yours?
It took 2 months about.
2 months?
Yeah, yours will be coming up because I know when you did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I did it in January and it was on about, a month ago.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't wait.
There's the mug.
Oh, yeah, I got the mug, too.
But I tell you what, man, it was one of the highlights of my life.
Why's that?
Because I hold Maron up there, his podcast. I hold it up there I told him on the podcast. It's a modern day Johnny Carson to where as far as you could do a Conan set and the next day no one will say anything.
Right.
You do Maron, and I tell you what, I go all over the place. People go, heard you on Maron, man. It was great. Every day I get that. I'm at a grocery store. A guy goes, hey, man, I recognize your voice. The guy said this. I go, what? He goes, yeah, you're Dean Del Rey, right? I heard you on Maron.
Yeah.
I was at fucking Gelson's. The guy didn't even know me,
He heard your voice and just recognized.
And it's
wow.
on forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And also, people look up to Maron. They think if he's on Maron, he's on. He's a
legitimate
dude.
guy.
That's right.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something. I'm kind of happy, and I've been anticipating because it's kind of crazy because the period that we talk most about was, we'll call it the Sam era at the Comedy Store.
Right. And people love that.
And they love it, and we were in the center of it.
Yeah, that's right.
We were in the center of it, and we were like two soldiers talking about the war.
That's right.
That nobody else can relate to that.
And someone tweeted Maron, and they said, hey, when are you going to talk more about the Comedy Store? And did you see the tweet he put up? Oh, wait till the Don Barris episode.
Did he really say that?
Yeah, he said, wait till the Don Barris episode.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to listen to that because the Comedy Store...
the Comedy Store is so...
It's so legitimate to me.
Yeah, it's another league, and I just think, I wish somebody at the Comedy Store would run that place properly.
I'm down with that for one reason.
But somebody that understands it. And you know what? And I'll tell you this.
In an artist's eyes.
In an artist's eyes. And you know what? The only person that I think that will ever be able to do it properly.
Paulie.
100%. Absolutely.
Paulie's a god to me.
Paulie is...
A lot of people are like, Paulie Shore or whatever. I think the guy's genius. Because he could have been just a fucking drug addict fool.
Absolutely.
When you're around rich people and drug addicts and rock and roll, you would just go down.
And I'll tell you this. He had to me, he was the greatest MTV VJ
100%.
ever. And I'll tell you this, and it was if you think about what he was given. Okay, Paulie, MTV is more popular than it's ever been in its history.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're going to give you can go anywhere. Because you're MTV, you can go backstage with bands. Yeah. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
The fucking key to the city.
Here's a camera. Go.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me how great that would be.
That's what I'm saying. The guy was in the eye of the storm, man, of rock and roll. His mom has the best comedy club of all time.
Ever.
The best comics ever came out of there.
Absolutely.
You got Pryor.
Let me tell you this. Pryor lived there.
Yeah.
Pryor lived there because you know what? It was the freedom of that place. Mitzi put the perfect place together, and I'll tell you why. Think about this. She's married. They opened the club because Sammy Shore basically, and I think, from what I understand, they opened this store so when he wasn't touring, and he opened for Elvis.
Yeah.
So he had that gig
Sinatra, whatever.
Right, he opened for Elvis. He was Elvis's opening act.
Yeah.
He'd come there, and when he was in L.A., he opened a club so he could work out. And people said so he could steal, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know anything about that. But it was open for that reason.
Right.
Now Mitzi's going in there. She's clearly unhappy in marriage.
Yeah.
So now you've got all these. She worked the booth. She had all these young guys coming there and kind of like flirting with her because she was the power person.
Right.
And so now she falls in love with the place, divorces this guy, now is able to do anything she wants. An attractive woman with money and power.
And cocaine.
Yeah,
love it.
And, I mean, so Pryor hung out there. There is no Sam Kinison if it wasn't for the Comedy Store.
That's right.
You know the Sam Kinison story, how he got to the point where he did?
No, because I follow Kinison when he's in Houston.
Okay, so you know he was in Houston.
Yep.
And I remember these guys, they would tell me the story. He and Carl LeBove.
Yep.
And it was a great story. And then what they did is they had this big plan that they were going to have a final show in Houston because he was kicked out of some comedy club where he got on a telephone pole and
that's right,
like Jesus and all that. So he made himself a little name, but he's in Texas. Nobody knows. So they had a plan. We're going to do this show with Sam, Carl LeBove, and what the fuck is his name?
Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks.
That's right.
They put a show together, and they were going to take that money and move to Los Angeles.
Right.
The show failed, and I remember Sam would tell these stories that he blamed Hicks for that.
Yeah.
And they never were really friends after that, but they came out here. They got here. Kinison was a doorman, not getting any spots at all.
Starts doing that scam where they get the tips. I love that story.
Right.
Like, come back, here's your half. So the customer sees, oh, I guess you tip when they see you. That's my favorite.
Yeah. So, but the way he got in there, Argus Hamilton was beating up Mitzi.
Oh.
And he saw it and he pulled Argus off.
Whoa.
Mitzi started giving him spots after that.
I've never heard that story. Yeah. They were fucking.
And he had what you would call
just
a snow
cocaine
problem. Yeah.
Cocaine craziness.
Right. And it was just one of those things. It was the times. But Sam pulled him off. Mitzi felt like, thank you, Sam. Started liking him, giving him spots. And then he developed. And then people started following him. And it's like.
Now, was he Sam? Because I like early Sam where he's not screaming the whole time.
Okay. I wasn't here.
Right.
I saw in Michigan, I saw the Rodney special that kind of broke him.
That's right.
Which was, he later told us, or in one of the conversations, he was talking about the fact he had to borrow money from Mitzi to get that coat that he wore, that he went out there with. And that's kind of, Mitzi helped people like that.
Yeah. I heard she told Roseanne to wear the overalls or whatever on the Roseanne thing.
She came there, went on stage in the main room the same night. Just so happened that the producer of the Tonight Show, the booker of the Tonight Show, was there in the audience, booked her for the Tonight Show. Came out there, went in front of Mitzi. Mitzi loved her, put her in the main room. Boom, the guy from the Tonight Show was there. That's how quick it happened for her.
Incredible. Like Letterman, too,
Well, Letterman worked his ass off.
Right. I'm just saying, though, he gets a spot on Carson, and then they ask him to guest host.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Well, so anyway, you got to bring me back. I
want to have you on, on the Coke podcast.
Yeah.
Coke party.
I love Earl.
Yeah, me too. I love Earl.
So that'll be good. And we got to talk music because,
that's all we do.
Earl will talk only 80s hair bands, but.
Well, that's what's great because he likes the worst bands.
Yes, he does.
And we need that. You know what I mean? Because he's going to be the beatdown guy of like, Earl, Rat sucks. And he's like, well, I don't think they do, actually.
And his whole thing about Kiss.
Yeah, Kiss.
I mean, I see what Kiss is.
Yeah.
But when you really look at it, they're comic book characters.
That's it, man. Kiss
and
is
they
like,
promote themselves perfectly. Are they great musicians?
They're wrestlers.
Yeah.
They're wrestlers of rock. You know what I mean?
Good analogy.
They're like the Hulk Hogan of rock. Dude, you got to come back. And
I definitely will. This was very fun, Dean.
Oh, I loved it.
The advice is you and Earl should build your own little studio.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Wherever it is, and don't rely upon anybody else. Have somebody come in and run the sound. That's what I do.
You're right. Who runs your sound? Maybe we can hire him.
Well, if you want. Vince Freeman.
Right.
But it really isn't running sound.
Boring.
But what? Yeah.
He talks about He just knows about telescopes and Marilyn Monroe films.
Oh,
That's
fuck
all he
that
does.
guy. I don't want him
but
around
I'll
at
say
all.
this. Don't get a producer that has their own idea. Just get somebody to run the sound.
Yeah, we don't want that. We just want a whipping boy.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I have a guy that
Yeah.
basically pushes
That's all
a
we
button.
want. That's it. But I want to be able to run a call on it. Calls.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Can
the other
you do
thing.
that?
Yes, you can. Well, you could do that
No, I'm saying,
with an
can you
iPhone.
do that?
I could do
Oh,
that.
yeah?
The only thing
wow.
is, I think that there's got to be something because what you can do is you can pipe it in on the outgoing of an iPhone.
Right.
It goes into the mixing board.
Right,
So you
because
can-
Chelsea Peretti takes calls.
Does
the
she?
whole time. Yeah, I'm going to ask her. Right,
yeah,
right.
but there might, but it's
Right.
not the best. It's not the best sound. So I'm
Right.
sure that there's something you can get that takes it to another level for sound.
Oh, I'm going to look into it.
Yeah, do.
Yeah, it's
Dean,
time.
Really, it was very fun coming.
Dude, I
And
love you,
please
man.
Come. I'd like to come back as much as
No,
possible.
you got to come back.
I just love
Dude,
talking
like
music
once
with
a
you.
month, you
Yeah,
come back, and then
I'd
we
love
talk.
to.
What we should do is we pick a record, and you come in and we talk about
see,
it.
the
Yeah.
only thing that talk about it.
Yeah,
the only
yeah.
thing that sucks is I don't want to play music. A lot of these
Oh, no,
places
no.
will play music, and what you run into there.
No, it's not that. We just talk about
Yeah.
a record. Yeah, you play it, and people get drifted off.
Yeah.
Where we find you, Simple Don on Twitter.
Simple Don, thank you. Simply Don, not Simple Don.
Simple Don.
Simple
That's
Don.
that's a Skinner song. Hey, Simple Don.
Simply Don 1. That's the number 1. Check out my Big 3 podcast on iTunes and also the big3podcast.com. My Ding Dong show is on right now. It's on Death Squad, so look on Death Squad for the Ding Dong show, and that's you got to see the Ding Dong show. Next time we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we will.
I'm also going to get my own Simply Don show. I've got a group of people. We may be doing a Windy City Heat too. And check me out every single night at the world famous comedy store. I close out the night, and if you're ever in town, go to Jimmy Kimmel. I do the audience warm up there, so
Hell
I do
yeah.
a lot of stuff. So Dean, it was really
Love
really
you, buddy.
fun. Thanks.
Hell
man.
yeah.
All right, but say goodbye to Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Can Mary Jane promote herself a little?
Yeah, do it.
Mary Jane, a very lovely lady, and she's also the producer of the Ding Dong Show and also the Big 3 podcast. She's the only person that's ever let in the Big 3. So
Yeah,
they
and
kinda
she's super hot too. We got
unbelievably hot.
right?
Well, she's a pro model. That's
Yeah,
how she
yeah,
got that.
yeah.
Well, so how can they get a hold of you, Mary Jane?
Hello. A with the circle. SMOKINGMARYJANE. Thank you.
You could have said it, Smoky Mary Jane, but I think
That's
we
an
got
A with a circle. I've never heard that.
Neither have I. All right, Dean. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
man.
Don. All right, there you guys go, man. One of my favorites right there. That's Don Barris, original rock and roller, man. Find that guy immediately. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Tell a friend about this show. Let them know. And see you later.